everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Always Open. We are so glad you've joined us today. I am your host, Barbara Dunkelman, and joining me today are two of my wonderful friends, starting with Lindsay Jones.
Hello.
Welcome
How's it going?
back.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
Of course. Anytime.
And also returning back to the show, Kai Ku.
Yay! Yeah.
Welcome.
Wait, this isn't Let's Blend?
I know.
Why did I bring this? Why is this even here? Worthless.
Were you just waiting
so
to make that
pretty.
joke?
Of course. I was like, okay, don't step on Barbara's entrance. Here we go.
No, the
We're
timing
done.
was impeccable.
Impeccable.
Thank you.
For those of you who aren't watching the video version of this, Lindsay has a blender bottle that they immediately pushed on when they said let's blend.
Of course. I know I have to, but it's so cheesy. Like, this is one of my little things that I just enjoy in general. And I like that how my brain works is like anything that's color-coded or themed helps me do my work. So pink is the theme for the evening and for the year and century. What with
yes.
Barbie's success, I would think.
Absolutely. I feel like pink is so back in now because
Absolutely.
of all the Barbie stuff.
Hyper femininity. Let's go.
Let's
do
go.
it.
So yeah, something Lindsay and I were talking about right before the show started. Kai, I think you were just in the bathroom or something, but we were talking about how with the Barbie movie and all the like excitement around it, I feel like it's given like women and feminine presenting people the excuse and the right to just be extremely feminine and girly and like really leaning to pink and just like be unabashedly feminine. And it's such a relieving feeling and such a nice thing to be seeing people do and be like just unabashed about. I don't know. I love it.
Yep. I completely agree.
I love it so much.
Just thinking about seeing Barbie in theaters, I felt like, and I saw someone tweet about this, it summarized it perfectly. They said, remember for that period of time when Pokemon Go first came out and we were this close to world peace and everyone loved each other and they were hyping each other up and it was awesome. Same thing with Barbie, I felt like. I dressed up. We did the double feature, the Oppenheimer in the morning and then Barbie in the evening.
So you did Oppie?
Yeah, Oppie. I did.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Oppie. Yeah, instead of Barbenheimer. Which, if you did Barbenheimer, like props to you because your mental state must be so solid. We got heavily destroyed by Barbie being the latter half of our viewing experience. But I digress. It was really cool watching people go in, and I love dressing up for movies. But like everyone was dressed up, like to the nines, pink everywhere.
It was like a giant anime convention. Except it was just Barbie. It was so good.
I loved it.
If Barbie was an anime, now I want to see that.
I feel like that's right around the corner now. We have so many IPs.
There's so many Barbie
anime.
movies, Barbie games. Like, let's get into it.
You just did a cozy couch and a Barbie game.
We did.
Please tell me about that because I haven't played a Barbie game since like 96, maybe, if that, 98.
Yeah, like the late 90s, I think, is when probably the peak of all that stuff happened.
So we did Barbie the Explorer, which is not your typical Barbie game you would think of because it's not a makeover game.
Yeah.
It's not like super feminine. It is a platformer. And there's always a conversation that me and BK have like, she's the more good overall gamer, but there's certain niches that she doesn't touch, and platforming is one of them. I touch platforming.
Gotcha.
So I look at her a little crazy. I'm like, this is the game you picked? Like, this is the Barbie game? But it's just us going through a jungle and jumping over it. And to your point about how this kind of Barbie movie is creating a revolution, to me, it's creating a revolution in what is the definition of a Barbie girl. Because you have people that are dressing super feminine in pink, but there's also people that are touching on what that means by dressing maybe not so feminine, but still utilizing pink in a way that still screams Barbie girl.
Absolutely.
But maybe the definition of what a girl is changing. Like,
Funny you mentioned
example.
that. Oh, no, please, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say BK. She came in dressed in all pink, but she is someone else who likes to teeter on the edge of being I forget the word, but such of a androgynous.
Androgynous.
Yes,
Yeah,
androgynous, very much so. So she came wearing her pink skirt, but it was a plaid pink skirt.
Oh,
so it's giving
hell
like
yeah.
schoolgirl, but
Cute.
still giving like punk rock too.
Yeah.
With a hoodie. So it's just really cool to see what everyone's kind of
She's so cool.
definition of it
Rock on.
is. Yeah, it's
Rock
really
on, BK.
awesome.
Yeah.
She's like, I mean, I know she dresses alt too, and I certainly do also. So funny. I have many a plaid skirt and that same mentality. So I went as like rocker Barbie.
Yeah.
Was the look. But on that same token, I love all the goth looks I've seen because people don't want to go into the pink sphere. They're like, I love my dark looks. Same thing. I love my monochrome looks. But it's so
you got the
hyper
pink
feminine.
lipstick.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I can fall on a little bit. But I love the creativity there
Yes.
too. Is like you find your own style, but you modify it to make it Barbie. You're not wrong. Like I love that the term Barbie can now be multidimensional along with Barbie. The fictional character is multidimensional. So
It's so true. Wow. The movie was so great. It had such a great message in it. This is coming out a little bit after the movie has been out for a while. But at the time of recording this, we recently enjoyed that viewing experience.
For us, and I talked to Barbara loosely about like some of the things that connected to us. I'm curious, Kai, what broke you most watching Barbie? What destroyed you? Please tell me in detail.
Funny enough,
I am not a therapist.
My viewing experience with Barbie was probably a little different than other people. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think it deserves all the awards and acclaim it's getting. But it didn't hit me necessarily as hard as maybe others, because a lot of the issues that were being complained about felt a little bit surface level in terms of what I experienced, in terms of not only being just a woman, but a Black woman.
Sure.
So I enjoyed it thoroughly. But the moment that absolutely broke me, I was just like, oh, they're reading me for film. America Ferrera's speech.
Oh, yeah.
Of just,
I think all of us were like, it was like a lot of like, yes, but also like, fuck.
It's like, stop speaking the truth. I don't want to hear anymore.
You can stop now.
I was sitting in a theater and I just remember seeing all the heads in front of me just shaking, like literally just like, but yes, God,
why is it like this?
It makes me so angry because it's so true.
And it's so interesting because normally storytelling like that doesn't work. It was very much so talk about it. A lot of times they say in filmmaking you're supposed to show, not tell.
Yeah.
But the Barbie was so much of showing that this was the one moment where it was just America being like, if you still don't get why you feel this way, which is essentially what stereotypical Barbie was. She was like upset.
Yeah.
I won't say why, spoilers, but at that point, nothing showing wasn't working. At that point, you literally just had to validate through words of affirmation, which for some people, that is their love language.
Yeah, thanks.
So it was really nice seeing all the different variations of how someone can be validated and told.
It's funny you mentioned from like a psychological standpoint, because you're not wrong. I'm clearly going into it like from a filmmaking standpoint and thinking about like what works and doesn't dynamically. And I love that is a perfect parallel to how hyper and just like noise filled and adrenaline fueled the rest of Barbie is, which is what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like high energy, high octane, excitement, sparkle, glitter, extravaganza.
Perfect.
Yeah. But then they suck the volume out of the room for those moments, and you really let these monologues linger, and they have such an impact in that way. It's really well orchestrated. Yeah. I like the push and pull. It was such a good time overall, but it still really spoke to your like soul or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like there were so many moments in that movie that broke me. One of them was the first time Margot cries in the real world after realizing like what the reality of the situation is, when they thought like, oh, we're inspiring all these young girls to be anything they want to be, and like that's the way it is, and then they realize that that's not the case, and that the patriarchy is real and there are horses. And also the moment where Margot sees that like older woman and she's like, you're beautiful, and it's just like that whole interaction.
Did you hear that that scene was almost cut out by executive producers who didn't understand?
I did hear that, and Greta was like, that there is no movie without that scene. You know,
that says everything. I mean, like I always say no spoilers, but we can spoil maybe part of the scene. But it's pretty important. I love that is the moment of like addressing not only like Barbie's fear as a character, but like our societal fear at growing old, changing, like, you know, discovering who we are, imposter syndrome, etc. And it's just so perfect that like in 2 lines of dialogue, you have Barbie going, you're beautiful, and this old woman going, I knew it. I'm like, yes, like that's, chef's kiss. I love it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. What broke you the most, Lindsay?
I told Barbara about this. I'm like, I don't expect you guys to relate because you're not parents. But there's so much themes surrounding motherhood. So I took my mom to go see it for her birthday, which was the day after Barbie. I grew up playing with her Barbies. So she had like the original Barbie and all these old Barbies. Yeah. So it was really cool to connect with her generationally. So you were one of people watching the movie,
be like, I remember that Barbie. I remember that Barbie.
Yes. Yeah. I nerded out about stuff. We were like, pregnant Midge. Like,
I remember Midge.
Oh yeah. We're losing it. So then that destroyed me, and I was like, I love my mom desperately, and like we bonded over that. Turn around, I come home and I take Iris and Luna to go see it. So it's like, oh hey, now motherhood part 2. Now you get to cry about your daughters growing up. But it was wonderful. Like, you know, I love being destroyed, especially by cinema. So go for it. Just ruin me.
Cathartic.
Ruin me, Barbie.
Well, I want to introduce a question to you guys, which thinking about destroys me trying to imagine both scenarios. But this is a would you rather question.
Okay.
Would you rather lose your sight or your memories?
Oof. I want kind of answer.
This one's tough.
I actually already have an answer.
Okay.
Go
You're so what a Kai response to. I'm ready.
Like, I'm ready.
Next question.
I processed it all.
I mean, something happened recently that makes this easy for me.
Okay.
I would easily lose my sight. Easily.
Okay.
Not my memories. And I think that just stems from memories are such a big reason of who we are today.
Sure.
Like there's nature versus nurture. Like a lot of the experiences I have turned me into who I am today. And I'm almost scared of the shell I would be without them. On top of that, the experience I was talking about recently is I recently started an audiobook from an old Wattpad story called Saving Nora. It's been all over my Instagram.
That's incredible.
So I've been just listening to it so much. And my favorite way to listen to it is kind of laying in bed, closing my eyes and picturing these characters just doing these crazy things. And it kind of just made me realize that sight is beautiful, but it's also limiting because there's so many ways that I could produce and predict how things would happen in my head with my eyes closed than I could if I actually saw it happen in front of me. Because then you have biases come into play. You have, like I said, you have those experiences that you had before come into play. So yeah, easily I would lose my sight.
That's a good point. I think about like translations from books to movies and how many people are like understandably like a little shocked and have to shift. Like, oh, that's not how I pictured that at all.
Yeah.
So it's a good point. I was going to joke me like, I'm actually losing my sight and my mind. I wish somebody would tell me I'm fine.
So you should have done that first. You should have went first. That's so
my
good.
God, it's so cheesy. I'm sorry, please. We'll put the dad and mom jokes aside. I think I'd probably have to go sight as well. I love that I have the gift of being able to see the world around me, especially things like my children and being able to look at them. However, there's so many interactions with people that I think isn't sight oriented, and like that when I'm connecting with people, I connect with their essence, I guess. And I'm using a lot of terminology that people might find spiritual. I myself am not spiritual. I'm just using the terms. But I don't think I would necessarily need that to keep the connections I have, nor to bond with other humans.
Sure.
On top of that, my memory is garbage. So I'm trying to hold on to any memories I possibly can.
I feel that.
While I can.
You got a pretty good memory.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Can't remember breakfast, but I can probably walk you through my childhood.
There we go.
Right. Do that. Yeah.
I'm the same
you
way
go.
where it's like you remember the things that matter, you know, but the little things of just like, what movie did we watch yesterday?
Not sure.
No idea.
Well, we talked about dream escapes too, and Trevor's mentioned this before also. I have times where memories will replay themselves like in my dreams. So also like I would hate to lose that because I get to physically revisit
That
them in
happens to
those
me all the
moments.
time.
Yeah.
Anytime I ever dream, it's not about the house that I currently live in or the house that my family currently lives in. It's the house I lived in from like kindergarten to high school.
Oh, wow.
That's the only house I dream about.
Do you think that's because that's where you were when you formed so many of your like core, essentially like personality traits and like memories and
who you
growing
are.
up,
Yeah.
who you are?
Yeah,
wonder if
because
it's also-
it's really just their college dorm. Like,
Yeah.
those are the two places.
Do you ever get like wistful when you return to like I feel like I have the breaks of like I know I'm an adult in my dream world, but I'm returning to my childlike innocence, this state of wonder that I had
Yeah.
that's gone now.
I mean, one of my bucket list goals is easily to return to that childhood home, and hopefully they let me in and just walk around so I can be like, oh, this place. Because
This is the king of the hill
I've driven
episode.
around it since moving out, and it's so crazy how many more homes have been built in the area and things. But even just, I just want to sit in the room for like 5 minutes and kind of meditate.
They're really sweet.
I don't know if y'all have done this before, but it's crazy how much smaller those spaces are when
Yes.
you revisit them as an adult. Like even when I visit home and I go to my room, I'm just like, my counter is so like, I guess I wasn't always this big around it, but like I was this tall before I
you've
moved
grown.
out. Look at you. Grown. Wow.
If you guys ever have children or are visiting
I hope so.
someone with kids, that is visiting an elementary school as an adult.
Yeah.
It is surreal. I'm like, I'm a freak. This
Yeah.
is huge.
Like Jesus Christ.
This tiny chair. Let me hop out over here.
It is nuts. I think I'm the same as both of you. I'd rather lose sight than my memories. And it is one of those things too, even just thinking about this question, I'm just like, I feel so fortunate to have my sight
Yes.
when there's so many people in the world who have, sight issues or are like fully blind or any type of disability in that sense. And just like, they just live that way. And I think a lot of us take for granted all the things we are blessed with and all the things we do have with our health and with our, abilities and stuff like that. But I agree with you guys that memories are really what makes you. But when I was thinking about it and going back and forth, I was like, well, if you lose your sight, there's like a lot of types of memories that you're not able to form then
That's a good
going
point.
forward.
Huh. Yeah.
But, I guess it's like depending on how you cope with those changes.
Yeah, I think to your point about privilege, I think it's a privilege that none of us here wear glasses and are being asked this question about like even ignoring like losing your sight fully, like even just having to go out of the way or wear glasses or contacts is a form of sight impairment. So I do recognize that maybe if I had experienced something to that extent, that my answer might change. Because I have not experienced what it's like to not have sight. So I am privileged enough to say, if I had to think about both, I'm kind of thinking about the dreamy version of both.
Gotcha.
Where I could still, like, my mind still works. I can still imagine things. I can, but at the end of the day, like, this world was not built for people who unfortunately have different variations of disabilities. So me saying it is kind of dreamlike, of being like, oh yeah, I'll lose my sight. I'll just make up stories in my head. That doesn't change the fact that I do have to exist in this world without my vision.
It's very tough.
Very
It
true.
is very hard.
I think also to adding that from my perspective is Alzheimer's runs in my family, so I'm extra protective of memories because I know that inevitably they're gonna go away. I would love to do the Dumbledore thing where you just like pull it out of your head. I'm like, you stay right there.
Yeah,
whatever you say,
I would remember
back.
this. I think it also is like when you think about questions like this and scenarios like that. I think at least for me, it helps me hold on to those special moments a little bit more and be appreciative of those moments of like, this is a really special thing that's happening. Let me make a concerted effort to remember this and to like value it as it's happening rather than it being like, oh, that thing that happened last week was really awesome. Like, I wish I like basked in that a little more.
That's a good point. I don't know if you've ever found yourself doing this because you're both very organized people.
Sometimes.
And we're generally, especially compared to me. Thank you. In my eyes, you guys are so put together. You got everything going for you.
The facade is working.
Yes.
I definitely have moments where I have to like sit back and think about that because there are tons of times when I'm in the moment, especially like social gatherings, where I'm so like freaked out or anxiety ridden about it going well that I don't even enjoy the party or whatever I'm doing. Like,
Was it like that on your wedding?
luckily, no, because we had a coordinator.
Right.
But I mean, it sounds so cheesy to say, but at my cat's birthday party, I was a little stressed.
You did put on a really big
It was
shindig
so
for your cat's
good,
birthday.
though.
Thank you. It's so cheesy. I guess for our
I had
audience who
crab
doesn't
legs
know,
at a cat party. That was so amazing.
dude, I love that you guys came. I appreciated it.
it was my
meant
taste of the
world.
East Coast. Thank you.
Of course, I had to. I loved the one that had happened, and you guys were so gung ho about it, and just like supportive of Lindsay's crazy idea. Like, sure, let's have a birthday party for your cats.
We're always looking for excuses. Are you kidding me?
Thank you. You gave me a reason to dress up.
Yeah, everyone's always looking for that.
I loved it. Thank you. And I appreciate it. But because I wanted y'all to have a good time also at this birthday event, I was like, okay, this all has to go well. So there was this like this underlying current of like, I'm freaked out, even though I shouldn't be. We're here to have a good time. Just enjoy yourself in the moment. And I really had to step back and go, like, you're going to hate yourself if you don't relax a little bit and enjoy that this is happening right now.
Yep.
I think to your point, that's why I seem so organized, is because I've done too many situations, like both by myself and with others, where I work hard, and then after the fact realize I didn't get the benefit from the fruits of my own labor.
Right. Yeah.
So now,
All the hard work you put into
exactly.
something.
So now, especially now that I'm producing, so inside work and outside work, I go out of my way to work extremely hard to try to find any loopholes, ask as many questions as possible, so that way when the time comes, I can just sit in. Like, that's kind of what I was like when I was directing Same Brain. That's how I was when I was on stage for Guess Who Hard Mode. Those are all videos that I produced. It was just really fun to just be like, I did this. People are enjoying it. And honestly, I think that's another thing. When you're in your head, you don't get to feel the joy of others as much. And a lot of what can help make you happy is feeling the happiness other people feel through something you create. So
It's also like the whole, I mean, not the whole point, but a big point of putting effort into something is so you could enjoy it too.
yeah.
Like, unless it is something that you're strictly doing for someone else and you're like, I just want to make this a good thing for them and like I want them to enjoy
But
it.
even then, feeling their happiness.
Right? You're sharing the joy.
Yeah.
And being like, you should be able to look at them for a moment, just reflect and be like, I made them happy.
Like, that's back in the day when Gus and I used to direct RTX. It was one of those things where it's like, this is the hardest work I've ever done in my life, and I'm more stressed out than I've ever been. And it's like a lot of late nights, a lot of like pulling my hair out. But then you're there in person and you're just like, wow, people are like hugging and
enjoying
laughing
themselves.
and having such a good time. And like, oh, it's all worth it.
I'm glad. I'm glad to get. Oh, you also get to see like in person that real time response of like people. Your work has paid off. Here it is in front of you. Do y'all have difficulty giving yourselves flowers, like applauding yourselves
all the time.
Trying to be better about it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit the same. I'm like, okay, it's done. Moving on. I feel nothing. Cool. I saw a quote recently online, and it really resonated with me. Maybe it will with you also. They said someone tried to compliment them, and they like kind of downplayed it, like, nah, I'm not that cool. And the other person stopped them and said, I'm going to give you your flowers. You can decide whether or not to water them. And I was like, oh, dang.
I did see
okay.
that quote.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Good point.
Something
I'll
too
take
that
them.
I think will resonate with y'all as it did with me. I want to say this was Brene Brown, I don't know if it was, so I apologize if I'm wrong, but this woman was talking about how the scariest emotion to feel. What do you think that is? The scariest emotion. A lot of people would go like anxiety, fear, like sadness, all this.
Yeah.
Joy is the scariest emotion to
for
feel.
love.
Praise sometimes scares people. They don't like praise.
With joy, a lot of people are like, oh my God, I'm so happy. I need to protect this, or like something will go wrong to ruin this. So I'm not going to allow myself to feel the full joy of the situation or this scenario.
Yeah.
Because I'm scared. Because I'm scared that that's going to be taken
That's so
away.
Sad. Right. Like, oh, you should be able to express your joy.
No, it's like the saying, if I always expect less, I can never be disappointed. So you never ask for more, reach for more, but at the same time, you're never hitting your true peak because you're never extending yourself to
allowing
get there.
yourself to bask in it as much as you should.
On top of that, and I don't know if this is the case in this scenario, but like if you've been in abusive environments, you train yourself not to want that, because you could have backlash. You could have a response that is abusive and to you just trying to express yourself or your needs. So I totally understand some of the trepidation there.
Absolutely. Well, allow yourself joy. We have officially reached the point in the summer where you pretty much need sunglasses every time you step outside. It is bright out there, folks. But it seems like my sunglasses always get stuck in my hair, and if I try to put my sunglasses on top of my head, I wind up with a whole tangled mess and sometimes even a little bit of hair missing out of, the top of my head where the sunglasses were. Well, thankfully, our friends at Shady Rays have a new tangle-free aviator that has a patent-pending nosepiece that they designed specifically to avoid tangling. I mentioned this last time, but it happened again. I went swimming and I put my sunglasses on my head. They were the aviators, the tangle-free aviators, and they did not get stuck even in my wet hair from the pool. It was fantastic, and every time it happens, I'm just so grateful to have them. Plus, they look super stylish and go with everything. Also, if you lose or break your sunglasses even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair with no questions asked. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. So head over to shadyrays.com/tanglefree and use the code OPEN for 30% off their best-selling tangle-free aviators and much more. Save before they sell out and try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Thank you, Shady Rays. Let's get into our questions for today, please. These were submitted to us at the Always Open email, which you could submit your questions to if you just email us at alwaysopen@roosterteeth.com. Please send in your questions, big or small. We'd love to hear from you. All right, so this first one reads, my partner and I have been dating over 2 years, and we are very much in love with each other. I am also a very patient and understanding person. My partner has ADHD and is currently not seeing a therapist, nor is on any medication. I want to encourage him to seek therapy to treat his symptoms, but he's not confident in talk therapy and also has a very hard time making appointments because of his anxiety. He self-medicates in his own way by distracting himself with music, videos, or games, but he often hyperfixates on some of his games, and it often makes him lose sleep or sometimes forget to eat or do chores, etc. I want to support him without overwhelming him, but I'm not sure how to go about it. We take care of each other and have pretty good communication, but anytime I bring it up, anything related to going to a doctor, he immediately gets very dismissive or overwhelmed, even when I try to gently talk about it. Want to see if any of you have some advice. Much love to you all. First of all, mood. That is a tough situation to be in because you're with someone you love and want to see them happy and succeed, but you also don't want to make them feel like they're doing something wrong. Or that you're criticizing them or blaming them for, having ADHD or anything like that. So it's a very tough situation to be in.
Right. And I definitely have been diagnosed ADHD, but I told Barbara before this. I will say I'm currently undergoing diagnoses or testing for bipolar. So I've been there. In that I've hyper-focused before and I'm not taking care of my personal health at all. And it's been a strain on my family and just a lot of different things. So I get the feeling that he has where you feel like you're being attacked and like, I can't do anything right. Like I've tried to address this. This has been a constant struggle for me. Why are you not more supportive of my struggle? And it does sound like you're approaching this in a very sensitive way, and you tried to multiple times. So kudos to you also for not just going, this needs to stop, like now, because that's also been a bad approach more times.
Yeah. And I feel like that would honestly, for some people, make them react in the opposite kind of way of like, oh, I feel overwhelmed by your reaction to me, that it makes me not want to seek help even more.
Oh, absolutely. I've gone into like self-isolation because of that. And I know it's not the intended effect, but it just happens where you just like, you internally dogpile yourself and you're like, God, I suck. Like this person, once again, I have failed this person who cares about me and that I love so much. Once again, I'm a burden on this like home unit or whatever you want to call it. On that same token, I don't know what the solution is for this individual person, but I know there had to be some self-reflection for me, big self-reflection, going like, okay, yes, this is a constant struggle for me. And yes, this is part of my identity. It's who I am. I accept this. However, I can't expect everybody else in my life to accommodate to everything that is going to surround my mental health issues, like deadlines, etc. At a certain point, people are going to have to move on, or especially in a working environment, there's going to be ends that need to be met.
Yeah.
Now, they can help you, and my working environment and my home environment has been awesome about trying to figure out like what works for me, what kind of style and procedures and communication needs to happen to make it work. But yeah, it took a lot of effort on both parties' parts to go, how do we fix, not how do we fix this, because fix isn't the right word. How do we approach this?
Yeah.
How do we tackle this issue together?
Very good.
Sorry. And that's my speech.
Well, I wonder for you too, Lindsay, like you mentioned that you felt like sometimes you were letting people down. How did you go about discussing that with them? Or like, how did people approach you that made you feel that way? Was it like the way they were speaking to you, or was it more like you are assuming that you're letting people down based off things?
Definitely a little bit of both. Okay. And that's also a trip too, is like knowing that I'm reading too far into some interactions and like the slightest little tone shift or like a look, I'd be like, God, I failed again. Like they fucking hate me. And it's not like, ooh, they don't like me. It's like they fucking hate me and they want me dead.
Oh, wow.
That's my brain tricking me.
Nasty little thing sometimes.
But then, right, yes. But then on the opposite end, there would be times where like finally people would like either gently nudge like, hey, like, have you worked on this or has this happened? Where they just have to sit down and go like, I don't know if you just are not registering, but we need this now. And I wouldn't have understood. And I go, I'm so sorry. I didn't even realize, or like I missed information. I would miss an email or something would get lost in the cracks. But that is on me. So like that is the give and take.
Yeah. I think with the situation too, it sounds like this partner has been very supportive of him and has been trying to work through, you know, finding help for him and finding some ways to address this. But he hasn't been like as receptive.
Yeah.
And if it's affecting your relationship, I think there needs to come come to Jesus moment of like, hey, like I really do think that we need to like have you talk to somebody, or like it would mean a lot to me if you looked into the help. And like I think this person being there for him and like helping him through, like, let's look into therapists together, let's like research this online together, like doing things together, I think might be helpful rather than being like, you need to look into that.
Yes,
you
absolutely.
need to do that. Because it does seem like you are willing, which I think is wonderful and shows that you really love him. But also like you matter in the relationship too.
Right.
That's what I was going to say, actually, because I can't speak on, you spoke so well.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks.
I can't speak on that because as far as I know, I'm not on the spectrum or have ADHD in any way. As far as I know.
Right.
Like, I know a testing center you can go to.
Yeah.
Come on down.
But I have been in a situation where, not necessarily a relationship, but where a close friend of mine was in a abusive relationship, and it got to the point where I was so invested in her well-being that it very well affected me physically and mentally really badly, where you just want to help them and you want to support them. But at the end of the day, I was losing myself trying to support someone else. And while you want to wish the best for someone else, you can only give them so much until you always want to give someone as much as you can. But if it starts taking away from you, you're now giving them 50 because you only have 50 left.
Or you're sacrificing
exactly
too much of your needs for that.
They'll pour with an empty cup adage.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to speak to the actual writer of this piece and say, I'm so glad that you're helping them and supporting them and loving them. And honestly, I feel the love through this message. And it's unfortunate that life is just so unfair to so many of us that we have to go through these trials and tribulations. But you're doing great. If no one's told you're doing great, I want to validate you right here and right now, because it's not easy, and just make sure that when you look in the mirror, you're good too. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Please.
I think that's such an important piece to talk to.
Like I mentioned earlier, it could very well be their brain going like they could also be a perception where like they might think like you don't care, and they might not like actually be registering how much effort and concern you have surrounding you wanting to support them. But
yeah. Or it could also, I mean, they mentioned that anytime they bring up anything related to a doctor, he immediately gets very dismissive and overwhelmed. And that's probably just because it is a very overwhelming thought to him.
Yeah.
And like,
and it's also, it's better now, but it's very stigmatizing when you put that label on yourself.
on top of that, and this is my experience like with ADHD / what might be bipolar now, is I have had multitude of appointments that I've set and missed or forgotten entirely. And then I roll up to the doctor and they're like, oh, nice to see you. And I just feel like garbage. Like the passive aggressive reception is the worst. And that's happened before. So I don't know if this is the case, but maybe there's also some trauma surrounding doctor's appointments and scheduling stuff like that. Because that is very tricky when you have ADHD.
scheduling appointments and going to a doctor, I think for most people, regardless of being on the spectrum or having ADHD, is very tough. So I can't even imagine being in that situation and trying to get yourself to go to a doctor. It cannot even imagine how
There's been
overwhelming
literal times where I have it on my calendar. I set the alarm, and the night before I thought to myself, oh, it's just a regular day tomorrow. And I slept past all of that halfway through the day. And I'm like, I had a whole doctor's appointment, or I had tickets to go see a movie.
I feel better. Thank you. Thank you. Nothing better than getting a call from the doctor when you're out and about. I'm like, oh, shit.
And nowadays, the doctors text you, so they got my phone number, and they're like, are you on your way? And it's me 3 hours later, because I also don't reply to text.
Oh, no.
I do appreciate the doctors who know me long enough, or even not even like retail workers. It expands past doctor's appointments, but they just know me now, and they're like, oh, Lindsay. And like, they're very kind, at least, and considerate. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot. Or like, I got overwhelmed. I apologize.
It happens. And I think, too, with addressing this situation with him, I think do try to keep communicating with him. I think I think the more you talk about it, the maybe less dismissive he might get if he becomes more of like, it's important to me that like we figure this out because I love you and I want, to address these things with you and I'll help you. And I think maybe doing it in a way where it's just like little steps. Just like, okay, today we're just going to research.
Yeah.
And like, maybe like if we find something we like we'll just call them to see what they offer, and like just little steps, not just like jumping right into it of like, okay, we're going to find you a therapist today and you're going to make an appointment today.
You're going to fix you right up.
Like, because that could be very overwhelming for anybody.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think it's also understanding that everyone's timeline is different.
Yeah.
As K. Michelle said, you can't raise a man. He's already grown. What you going to do? But on a more serious note, it's just sometimes people are willing to listen, sometimes they're not. And be careful of those boundaries that they set, that you don't overstep them when they're not ready for them.
Yeah. I'll also note, just timeline-wise, thinking about my experience, I have had issues where I think I'm progressing or I'm improving in a lot of my behaviors, but it's actually just a heightened state of mania. And then I go, like, it gets way too, like, we fixed all of the issues. Everything's great. And then it's immense crash. So I don't know if this is the case here, but that's also a great argument for, like, taking baby steps and taking a long period of time to make sure those steps are applied.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for your question. Thank you both for your responses, too. I think it's great.
You were extremely well-spoken, Kai. Kidding me?
I have 2 degrees. I hope so.
Yeah, that's true.
And student loans are coming back. Student loans are coming back next month. I looked how much I owe monthly. I don't have it.
Oh, gosh. America.
Right, yeah, no kidding.
Well, let's quickly do this last question because it's an interesting one. We'll do a little speed round on it. So this question reads, my brother, who's 26, and I, who's 25, still live at home with our mom. We have a balance of chores between us. I'm typically the one to do cleaning. For the past couple years, things are left messier than usual. I'm talking food and crumbs left out, dishes unrinsed, as well as moldy fruit bowls and rank vegetables left in the fridge. Every summer, our kitchen becomes the Disneyland for flies and ants.
Tasty.
Blech. We've even had a few maggot incidents. What kills me is when the trash is full, they take the bag out and leave it on the floor next to the bin instead of taking it to the garage. I know we all get a bit lazy sometimes, and I don't have the highest of standards, but this is honestly repulsive. At this point, I've tried many interventions, and they brush me off saying, you're OCD and a neat freak. I'm sick of cleaning up after them, and I'm spiteful, so sometimes I leave it to build, hoping they realize how they live. But my tolerance is obviously lower, and they can be very stubborn. I'm saving up to move out, but it's not happening anytime soon. Until then, I'm trying my best to remain civil. How would you manage living with an unapologetic trash panda.
Watching Kai's face, I'm like, I would not. Kai would.
I'm trying to decide if my answers are going to be like petty.
Let it be
or
petty.
Like actually normal.
I can start.
Please do.
Okay. I sympathize with both people here.
Okay.
Because I have been that person. I have literally left rotting food out when I was like in the height of depressive state. However, again, you cannot use mental health as an excuse. And I don't want to assume here, but if this person sounds dismissive upon being like, hey, like you really got to pick up your stuff. Going back to what I was saying, if I had that said to me, it would be like devastating. Once again, I'm a horrible failure. I'm so sorry. Extremely apologetic. And then the mess builds.
But it sounds like they're going, you're OCD,
right.
You're a neat freak.
Right.
I'm not the problem.
And that is shitty. That is really shitty and dismissive and deflecting, really, is going, no, I don't have a problem. You do. That is no room for any relationship, let alone a roommate environment.
Yeah. It also, I'm wondering here, it says my brother and I, it says both male, live with our mom. And he keeps referring to they. So I wonder if it's the brother and the mom who are both messy. And this guy writing in is the one who's cleaning up after both of them.
That's even harder then.
Because at first I was like, get your parent to like instill chores and like if they don't do their chores, they don't get to live at home. I don't know.
Yeah, no. It is a parental responsibility, but you're not wrong. This might be a triangulation situation.
Yeah.
Oof.
I have so many thoughts.
Please.
So I'll start with the mom one more recently of a sense of, I don't know if that's the case always because I was raised in a household where my mom did the cooking and the cleaning for so long. And now it's a situation where anytime I go over there, it's like, this is my house, keep it clean if you can. And like, she's already done so much for me. So I like do more for her and through keeping her house clean when I go to visit. I was also a Girl Scout. So I was taught anywhere you go, you leave it cleaner than when you left it.
There you go.
So in that case, if the mom's making a mess, I'll be like, it's the mom. I guess it's the tiniest of passes, right? The tiniest of passes. Sure.
But the brother.
The brother, as someone who has a brother. Well, no, my brother's fine. I'm not going to leave him out of this. No, the first question I have that I would need context on is what are his chores that he's doing that you say cleaning is the equivalent of whatever he's doing?
Yeah. Like if he's, I don't know, doing the laundry or something or like taking care of some other household needs.
Yeah. And
like maybe if you find that you are good at cleaning and want things clean, like maybe that's something you do for the house. And everyone else does like
some other
maintenance
equivalent. Well, also there's the health hazard issue. They mentioned like a maggot incident and flies. And like that is a huge issue. That is unhygienic. It's a problem.
Very much.
It's something where I would say my normal not petty answer is clean despite the issue, because if it's affecting your mental health and your hygienics, like unfortunately you do share the same space. If there's a space that you don't touch that he inhabits and you don't need to clean that, don't.
Yeah.
But if it is affecting you and your health, unfortunately, I would say you're working on your way out. It will happen sometime. This is a small blip in your timeline. Make sure that you are living to your best life.
Yeah.
And then the petty me.
Let it out.
The petty me.
Turn the volume up.
I've been in a similar situation, not with cleaning, but with money, where Jesus Christ, I've been having this conversation with people so much recently, where I'll be out with friends and instead of splitting evenly or, because there's different ways you can do it. You can split evenly. You can all pay each other back in the moment based on what you did. But sometimes what I'll do out of convenience is I'll pay for one meal or something, knowing that maybe they'll get the Uber. Like if we're all going out, I'll pay for the food and you got the Ubers, and then someone else got the drinks. Yeah. So it's all
like an unspoken agreement.
It all works out. But there's always that one person who doesn't believe in that. They believe in you paid for this and you treated me. But the next thing I do, we're splitting evenly because you treated me out of the goodness of your heart.
Got you.
So it might be in his mind. He's saying, well, you agreed to cleaning. This is a part of cleaning.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how big the mess gets. This is the cleaning.
Right. I'm like, you don't give gifts with the expectation of anything in return. However, I do think it's a little gauche if you can afford it and you're just allowing someone to politely pay for everything or pay for things without the expectation of maybe something in return. There has to be some kind of equal exchange. I'm an alchemist at heart. So,
so to my petty answer is, he probably sees it as like, you're doing your chore. What are you complaining about? Like, that's
it does say at the beginning here, we have a balance of chores between us. I'm typically the one doing the cleaning. So to give them that one pass, but at the same time, you have to then set that boundary, because there are now people who I will not share money experiences with. We can go on vacations, sure. We can go out, sure. You know, we can hang out at But
bar,
you know
sure.
that they're going to take advantage of it.
Exactly. Yeah. I need to analyze myself and say, do I want to put myself in that situation today to know that this might be a money situation that goes away that I don't prefer, and then decide yes or no. In this case, you both live together. I'm sorry that choice was taken from you.
Yeah.
But I think you then have to decide how much are you going to give him power to make these messes, I guess.
Well, this is such a complicated scenario that I've heard of from people in the past of, if you don't clean it and they just let it build, they have that expectations that you will handle it. And so they just keep doing it. And the more you clean up after them, the more they will be like,
oh, they got it.
They got it. Like, they're going to do it. And if they don't, I know that they're going to be like not able to handle the dirt and the grime and all the shit. And eventually they'll clean it up, because has what happened. And like, it's tough, because like, if you go, fuck it, like they'll see how shitty it is having to live like this. I'm not going to clean it after them. But then you're there stuck living in that household, having it pile up, and they won't do anything. So it's like, there's no right way to go about it.
You're sacrificing some form of your comfort level either way, no matter what's happening. And you already have been, apparently.
Exactly. But I think, like, again, we talk about it with every single question on the show. It's a lot of communication of like, hey, I can't live this way, and I don't think you should either. And I think it's better for not only our physical health, but mental health, to live in a space that isn't full of flies and ants and maggots and garbage. And like, I feel like I'm not asking a lot, even if it's just like, hey, when you put your dirty dishes somewhere, put them in the sink or put them in the dishwasher, and like, I'll run it, I'll clean, I'll do that, like, if that's my chore. But like, don't just eat your food and then leave your trash on the table right there, and like, not even do the bare minimum of that. Like, especially your brother is an adult. He's 26.
This is also coming from a neurodivergent framework, so I don't think this is applying here. This sounds like maybe just a bit of entitlement and laziness, but we don't know. I like that you mentioned like halfway points, because that has also helped me when I'm like, I'm so overwhelmed by the mess in front of me, and I know I need to do it for the people in my living environment. Instead of doing all the dishes, I will just put them in a pile here. At least they're off the counter. They're here. Yeah. Or my laundry is in this corner here. It's not strewn about the house.
Yeah.
That kind of helped.
Little steps again.
I would even say, see if you can secretly control the situation or control the variables. Like, unfortunately, trash is trash, but say if dishes are an issue, paper plates possibly, so that way you can just throw that out easily. That's less of a chore inside of a chore. Like, I feel like there's ways that you can almost manipulate the resources in the situation that may provide for at least a more efficient way for you to clean up afterwards.
The whole also trash bag where they take the trash out and leave it on the floor instead of just bringing it to the garage. Like, to me, it's not the worst thing in the world. At least they are taking the trash in a bag and tying it so it's like ready to take out. Again, they might just be like, well, that's his responsibility to clean. So like, I'm helping him by doing this. But it's also like, well, if you're pulling out the bag, tying it, just walk
you can go a
couple feet or however long it is to put it in the garage, you know?
It's something I've learned about in college, is that everyone's brains work differently. Like, and whereas I know for a fact that my brain is very much so like beginning, middle, end, where I have to go. I see all points of retention, and that's why honestly a lot of times I'll do something myself instead of rely on others, because it's easier to just do it than to explain the process to someone else.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you kind of just have to understand, maybe they see this as, maybe this is their beginning and end, whereas I see it as the beginning and middle, and then trying to understand that and have that conversation might just help you understand each other better.
Very good
too.
point.
Such a diplomat.
I know. I like how you went from petty to like the most diplomatic.
No, because I wasn't even as petty as I wanted to be.
I know.
Well, that's how politics works. Behind the doors, they just scream and cuss at each other, and then the PR statement.
Because it's really petty if I put all this garbage in your room, but you know, I'm not going
to. We're not telling you to do that, but
not even a little bit. No.
My real advice would be continue saving up so you can move out.
Yes, honestly,
because man, when you like to live a certain way and then you get to live alone, it is like a gift
Yes.
waking up every day in your own space, and like only you are responsible for your things and your stuff and your surroundings.
And I will say, and this might be a full circle moment of like memories, enjoy the time that you are living with your family. I'm currently living by myself, and every time I call my mom, I'm like, you didn't tell me it was ghetto. Adulting is not fun. I got bills on bills on bills. Like, this is not fun.
And it never gets easier.
And honestly, I think so many successful people are successful because they stayed at their parents longer. Those are bills that they needed to worry about as they set their foundation and built their resume to really go out and just be stable and exist. So
Yeah.
save your money, get that
Save
good lifestyle, but also enjoy this because you'll probably never live with your family again. So these are nice moments.
Yeah. And maybe name one of the maggots that you find and
There we go.
keep it as a pet.
Maggie. Come on, it's right there.
Oh my God. It's so obvious.
Somewhere Maggie's very upset with me. I love you, Maggie. I'm sorry.
Maggie the maggot. Well, thank you very much for your question. Again, if you have questions for us for the show, you could email those to alwaysopen@roosterteeth.com. Lindsay, Kai, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course.
Anything y'all want to plug before we end the show? Anything y'all are working on? Lindsay's got some very exciting stuff going on. This comes out in September, so.
Okay, noted. Thank you. So by this time, you guys should have already seen a few of Ruby's travel vlogs on her debuted VTube channel, which is very exciting. Thank you. And y'all, internally, everyone's been so supportive, especially you two. So thank you so much
excited for it.
From me and Ruby. She just says nothing but positive things about you. She's so cute. Love y'all so much.
Tell her I say hi.
I will. I'll tell Yang you said hi as well. She'll be seeing her around too.
My friend Yang.
Of course.
That's awesome.
Please check it out.
Awesome. Kai, anything you're working on that you want to talk about? Any personal stuff? Any like Twitch things?
I got a puppy.
You did
I got
get a puppy. I can't believe we didn't talk about that
I have
this
a baby
episode.
puppers now.
Momo?
Momo, short for Momo G from Fruits Basket.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I didn't know that was the shortening. That's so
incredible.
Yeah, she's super cute. She is the bane of my existence, but that's how it's supposed to
That's
be.
how puppies are. Right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being on the show. And thank you all for watching. Again, thank you for supporting our show. Feel free to share it with a friend. Let them know about the show. It helps very much with what we're doing, and we appreciate it. And thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that episode of Always Open. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. Please share with a friend, and let us know in the comments below what you think of the questions. And of course, email us at alwaysopen@roosterteeth.com with your own questions for the show. We love you. We'll see you very soon. I don't know why I stumbled on very soon. It's been a day.